What's up, my derps? It's your boy Gregolis, and I have officially taken over the DDnM Dungeons, Dragons, and Mike show for the evening. And of course, as you can see, this beautiful hunka burning love over here, he hates when we do this to him, is officially with us, Mr. DM Shanks. Everybody, I want to see you clap in the chat for Mr. DM Shanks, or maybe throw up your crits or your 20s. Oh, look at that. Our chat is white right now. So maybe we can go and change that while I talk to you. Mr. Shanks.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. We are going to do a pretty loosey-goosey interview evening. Tonight we are all about people asking questions in the chat. We will answer anything as long as it's appropriate, of course. And probably some things that are not that appropriate.
See where the night goes.
Exactly. So let people know about you, where they can find you, and what you got going on right now while I go and do a little bit of work in the background here.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I am DM Shanks, as he said. Not to be confused with DM Dave.
Oh,
mistakes some people have made.
Damn, missed opportunities. So for the people that don't know that are listening now, I originally thought DM Shanks was DM Dave and was talking to our DM, Mr. Your friendly DM Peter there at DNDWME. And I'm like, no, DM Shanks is DM Dave. Like he's got like 3 different campaigns or whatever. And boy, was I wrong. But they both,
that's fine.
You both took it in stride and said you would be proud to be the other person. So that's always good.
Yeah, well, you know, Dave is a wonderful man and a very handsome one. So frankly, I appreciate the compliment. So I am the sort of the main DM for Top Down Tabletop, where we do D&D every Saturday evening at 7:30 Eastern Standard. I DM the main flagship campaign, Wizards of Zakaria, which is an all wizards campaign in a completely homebrewed setting. And then on our off weeks, we alternate between a campaign DM'd by the beautiful Vix Draws, where I get to just be a player and cause chaos.
Oh, I didn't realize that she was DMing that campaign. I thought you were doing both. That's so cool.
Well, I do the third one as well, Hail Adventurer, which is a brand new campaign. We just started at level 1, also in a completely homebrewed setting because I like to punish myself.
Okay, well, I guess that's a good segue into questioning. Do you prefer homebrew or do you prefer pre-written?
Homebrew. Like, yeah. I don't see, the thing is, I like the Forgotten Realms setting. I like a lot of their lore. I use a lot of their lore. But at the end of the day, even if I'm using a pre-written setting with all its established stuff, I'm going to change so much because I just like the freedom of telling the story how I want to tell it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I run along the same path. For me, it's all about the creativity. Like whenever I've done DM stuff, I want to be able to control and tell the story.
Yeah.
And also, in a weird way, it feels easier to me.
Well, it is because you don't have to worry about, saying something that's wrong because as soon as you've said it, that's now canon.
It's canon, yeah. So explain top-down tabletop to me. Like, what is it? What is it to you guys? Like, how does it all work?
Well, we're coming up to like our 1-year anniversary. So about a year ago, we started this whole thing basically because of the whole COVID thing. We took our in-person D&D campaign and moved it to online. And we were playing several campaigns actually online at the time. And then we thought, what if we just stream it? What if we just invite other people in to what we're doing? Because we're having a lot of fun with it. And so we spent some time. We thought about what we wanted to do. And I said, okay, everyone roll up a wizard from a different school because that's what I want to do. And and so I built a setting and an environment and a storyline and they all put together characters and we just kind of went for it.
That's so cool. And part of that was recently kind of semi-relaunching.
Yeah, so we had a player that unfortunately wanted to step away from our table. It happens. And because we're a small group already, we were like, well, what do? We don't want to stop what we're doing. So we kind of, we did some one-shots for a while with people from the community while we were figuring out what it is we wanted to do with all of this. And so ultimately, there was a few people in our community that we were like, these are people we want to play with every week. So we kind of tested the waters, like which one of them is going to want to play with us. Turns out all three of them really wanted to play with us. So we're like, okay. So we launch a third campaign. We bring one of them into each for now, and we see where it goes. And so we relaunched. We took a couple weeks to just kind of prepare ourselves, do some art, make some story adjustments, and then we invited each of them into one campaign, and we relaunched full speed. So every week we're playing. Every second week it's Wizards, and then the alternating off week we switch back and forth between Fortune and Favors and Hail Adventurer.
That's so cool. I don't know how you find the time to do it all, and on top of that, be as active in the community as you guys are, which is why we're so thankful to have you here, kind of as the first guest on this TTRPG talk show.
I'm honored.
We're trying to do something a little bit different here. We might actually change our format to do, because we're bi-weekly with our regular show, there was a thought to do it's Dungeons, Dragons, and Mikes kind of as an after show, a talk show about what happened in the last episode of Dungeons, Dragons, and Dice.
Right.
But like this community that you guys have actually like open arms put us in, you can't forget, like, look at everybody in the chat right now who came from your community, Careful Cantrips community, like all these local people who are doing really awesome things. We just couldn't like bypass that, and so I want to use this as a way for our small community expose them to the bigger things going on and expose them to what you guys are doing, because it's incredible. Like, I'm dumbfounded how much work you do. The art that Vix does is insane. Madam President Vix is so good. Except that she still hasn't done my picture. So I mean, there's
every time you bring it up, it
goes
sent
back.
To the bottom
I know
of the
she
list.
gets so. You know what? I have the same relationship with my DM Peter at DNDWME. He does the exact same thing. Every time I ask if we level up, he sends it back.
Yeah, he actually, we were talking about that, and we were discussing the possibility of actually deducting XP every time you ask. Because that's the kind of thing I do, but I'm pretty spiteful.
There's nothing like dealing with a DM that is spiteful. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he's threatened to kill off my character. So what he doesn't know is that all that leads to is just another character that's even worse. So it's exponential growth. Oh, we got a group hug happening in chat right now. Also, the level ups are happening. It's not just me. You see, it's chat asking if we level up.
Still.
As he shows up.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi, Falbot. Hi, Janassi. Hi. Is it Ellie or is it Eli? I'm the worst.
It's Eli. Eli is her character on Careful Cantrip.
Right. That's what I figured. Who else are we missing here? Who else we got to shout out? I'm quickly trying to go through the chat. Oh, Nave, what up? I
think I saw an LV. Yes, I did. Hi, LV.
An LV.
Did you say hi to Phalanx?
I did. Falbot. That's what he's affectionately known as. Yeah. Okay. And Fal's on a show with you guys, right?
He is. He's one of our new members.
That's so cool.
So he got to join the Fortune and Favors. So he's sort of, we haven't really seen what the dynamic's going to be fully yet, but he's coming in to play complete chaos with me. So I run a Shadow Sorcerer Hex Blade Warlock.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I multi-class to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
that sounds dirty.
It's so OP, it's stupid.
Yeah. Like, okay,
but
so,
it's
okay, before we run away from that, I need to ask questions about that then. So what's the strategy behind that? Like how do you play that character? Because you
so there's a lot to it. So basically, Bray, as he's known, his full name's Tenebrae Somnus.
Sure it is. Spell it.
I'm kidding. No. TENEBRAESOMNUS.
Okay, somebody needs to put that in chat.
So he, as a child, happened to wander through a portal to the Shadowfell. And whilst there, the Raven Queen, who's basically number one priority is to be entertained, was like, oh, how interesting. A human child just wandering in the Shadowfell. Let's see if we can have some fun with this. And so she sort of raised him. And raised is a bit of a strong word, but she sheltered him, at least from harm, while he grew up in a completely foreign land where, everything's covered in entropy. Like, it's a terrible, dark, awful place. But he was sheltered under her protection. So he's seeing these horrible things, but at the same time, he's completely naive. And then eventually, she's gifting him a bit of his power. So he became a warlock, one of the Raven Queen's Hex Blades. And he noticed that in interacting with the weave, he could actually do it without calling on her power as well. So he started developing his own sorcery abilities. And as he gained power in that sense, he said to her, like, I kind of want to go back to the material realm and find my family. And so she was a little put out by this. And she's like, oh, you want to go back to your family? Fine, then. Poof. And he appears back on the material plane somewhere he's never been before, with no idea. he has no concept of anything back on this plane now. And so he's just kind of on a journey to find his family.
If that's not love, I don't know what love is. Oh man, that sounds pretty crazy.
It's a lot of fun.
So strategically with that character, how do you play that? Because So go ahead.
He's sort of like a frontline melee, but at the same time a blaster caster.
Yeah, like that's what I'm trying to figure out. That's the confusing part. It's like you could do both.
Yeah, and so he does, which is fantastic because it's options, right? So for one, I've got a good AC because I've got like scale mail, I think, plus a shield.
Yeah.
And then I get to use charisma for my weapon attacks because being a Hexblade is OP.
Okay.
And because I'm a sorcerer warlock, charisma is obviously my highest stat.
Thank you for the biddies.
Oh dang, you're nearing a hype train here.
This is for you, Shanks. This is totally 100% because of you.
Oh, I don't believe that.
No,
look, your wife is giving bits. I doubt that's for me.
Oh, that's probably for you. You are a handsome feller.
Oh my gosh, you guys gotta stop this.
We just keep making it weirder.
But like being able to have like that frontline fighting capacity, and then when you need to throw like a damaging spell for area of effect, you get surrounded or something. It's just opens up a lot of options, plus utility things that sorcerers get. I also am an asshole because I took because I went variant human, right?
Oh, so you even get what's that extra feat?
Get the feat,
yeah.
And I took the meta magic adept to get 2 extra meta magic points and 2 extra meta magic options.
There are 2 people in the chat right now that I know that are loving this entire concept, and that would be Falbot and JohnnyBot, which is Keating Woodrights as well. The 2 of them, there are min-maxers, and they're like right now, I guarantee they're at home going, I love it.
At level 4 meta magic options, 4 meta magic points, 5 meta magic points. High AC, high chance to hit, high damage.
Do you have a rotation? Yeah. Like a have you figured out your rotation yet?
Is that like in World of Warcraft?
Yeah, like you're gonna fireball first, or and then.
Well, D&D is a lot more situational than MMOs, right? So it's more or less just making sure I have options. And then, for social encounters, I already have the high charisma, and if that doesn't work, I've got suggestion and subtle spells. So
situational fireball, I like this.
Fireball's amazing and all, but I've always been more of a lightning bolt kind of guy.
Oh, okay. Hey, thanks for the biddies.
Oh my gosh,
Big
Tilly's here.
Are we?
Now I'm blushing.
We need actually, hold on a second. I have a hype train song that I made that I've never been able to use. So we're gonna do this. If you just give us a second here, folks. The worst part is that Shanks isn't gonna hear it, but he's gonna dance because that's what.
Okay.
We do. Just picture a hillbilly type song if I can find it. Dun, 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 dun. Loading. Found it. In 3, 2, start dancing. We're still dancing.
I don't know what we're doing.
It's the hype train dance. Yeehaw! Woo! And that's it, folks. That was the hype train dance. Thank you very much for boarding this hype train, and we hope to come back again. As the bits go in.
Wow.
They're going to make us keep going on that one tonight, so I better keep that open. All right. So, what is so for people who don't know you? I mean, I think the majority of the people in the chat right now know you. What's the easiest way to get in touch with you or to find out more about Top Down Tabletop? Like, I know you have two separate lanes that you're doing. You've got the DM Shanks Twitch where you do your gaming, and then you have Top Down Tabletop where you do your TTRPG stuff. So explain that, and then how people can get in touch with you.
So honestly, at this point in my life, the best way to be in touch with me and know what I'm up to is to be in the Top Down Tabletop Discord. Can
somebody post a link in chat to that for us, please?
I'm in there every day. You know, if anything's coming up, I post it in there. I did try to keep up on the social media stuff for DM Shanks, but I'm not a social media guy, and so like I fall off on doing it all the time. But if you follow the Top Down Tabletop social media stuff, Vix does an amazing job of making sure everything's kept up to date. So at least as far as Top Down goes,
yeah, you guys are 100% spoiled because you have a Vix.
Yeah. I scoured the globe for the perfect woman, and then I married her. So,
attaboy. All right, guess what? We got to do our hype train dance again. I'm sorry it's happening.
My gosh.
Here we go.
Really? We do it for every level?
Oh. We're dancing.
Just pump one with you.
I think I'll have to make it shorter.
I think so.
Yeah.
This is a little bit, yeah.
There we go. Woo! Okay. That was a good one, folks.
Yeehaw.
When you go back to watch this, you're going to love seeing yourself.
Oh, I can't watch anything I'm on.
Me either.
I'm like, look at this nerd.
Yeah, I can't. I hate seeing myself. Oh, thank you very much for the bits again. They keep coming in. Holy smokes. So, in fact, you just answered. I was going to say, how do you find time to stay up to date with everything that's going on? Well, you just said that.
Vix.
Yeah, Vix. Vix is the answer. Okay, kind of a weird one. In 3 sentences or less, what's your DMing journey been like? That's the Fisco.
That's such a question. Man, I mean, when I first decided I would DM, I was like, I'm probably not going to like this as much as I like playing. Turns out I do like it. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. And now sentence 3 is where it gets fucked up. Everyone seems to think I'm an expert suddenly.
Oh, true.
People come to me like, oh, it's DM Shanks. He knows everything. And it's like, guys, like, I mean,
it's in your name.
I may have compulsively like read the book several times, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, you guys can really do whatever you want. Like, it's not, I don't know any better than anybody.
And therein lies the magic. I think it's all about the creativity at the table, right? And every campaign being different.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question for you. Do you have your conductor hat on? Because it's the hype train.
Pumping one out with Greg. All right. Yes, I saw that comment.
Stop phrasing it that way. Oh, the biddies are beautiful. Thank you so much to everybody who keeps supporting and donating to this beautiful hunk of a man. Yep, I'm going to keep that going all night. Title of your Nevermind. Yeah, I think because I don't think a lot of people know that I do DM, and I've been DMing kind of since the start of my D&D journey. And I agree with you. I think once you sit behind that chair, my whole defense is like, hey guys, I'm pretty new. I don't know anything. Like, I need you to know your characters, and I know a fair amount just based on the amount of work I've been doing, but don't expect me to know everything. There's a little bit of a, there's a barrier there, a defensive barrier. But I also don't have the kahunas to put DM in my name. So you did that, and now you have to reap what you sow.
Well, I mean, Vix made me. Prior to that, I was known as Dread Pirate Shanks.
Oh, that's right. You were. I knew that. That was your Instagram name. See, I know.
And then Vix was like, "No, branding. You're switching to DM Shanks." And I played with it for a little while. I asked a couple people what their opinion was. I asked DM Dave actually, and he was like, "Buddy, has Vix ever steered you wrong?"
That's a good point.
And I was like, "No." So I changed it that day.
And since you are the same person as DM Dave, one of one, yeah.
It was a conversation with the mirror.
Yeah. It's Michael Jackson-esque. That was I'm talking to the man in the mirror reference. It's okay. People will catch up eventually.
Yeah, fair enough.
Nave says it's for SEO purposes. So I guess I want to start asking some more meatier questions about your experience and what you're doing, and get the stuff that most people don't hear from you, because you're everywhere, my dude. Like every time I turn on Twitch, you're there.
Yeah, well, like you said, we've kind of gathered an amazing community, and a big part of that is also like Careful Cantrip. We connected with them very early on, and then Vix kept we kind of early on in our journey, they were like, "Oh yeah, no, another like GTA based D&D group, like that's amazing, we're gonna back you up any way we can." And so we were kind of interacting a lot, and then like others kind of kept joining both, and we're like, "Oh, this is really cool." And then Hops and Dragons got into the mix, and then a lot of others, like the Voidcast and you guys, and so many other groups that we're connected with now. Knights of Silvermoon. There's so many cool people out there playing D&D.
Legends of
Alos. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
So many amazing groups out there, and it's they keep reaching out like, "Hey, we just want to come be on this thing," and I'm like, "With you guys, yes," because I'm always surprised anyone wants to spend time with me.
Well,
so.
and in fact, that's how you ended up meeting Petulant Cobra and Phalanx, I believe, and brought them into your campaigns live.
Exactly. Yeah, like they just kind of became big parts of the community. They played with us. I was running a community game. I haven't in a while now. It's still kind of open, but time has diminished. So, we might figure out another way to approach that. But they were playing with us in a community game like once every 2 weeks, and because I knew how they played, I was like, these are people that we could absolutely have at our table.
Bring them in.
They just fit so well.
Do you have a favorite?
Vix is my favorite.
Oh, damn! Tried to stumble you there a little bit, but that was the best response of all time. So, let me ask you: of all the years you've been kind of helming the captain's chair as a DM, what has been the one table and/or game that stood out the most for you?
Oh gosh, man! Like specifically as a DM?
Yes, because it's in your name, so that's what you do.
Yeah, I mean, but I've played a lot of games as well, and I guess like those ones stand out to me a lot more because as someone who does DM a lot, I see things that DMs do, and I go, "Oh, I can implement that." And sometimes arrogantly, I'm like, "Oh, I can implement that better." And I think it's better, but again, to each their own kind of thing. But I don't know, the game that I've DM'd that stands out the most to me.
I mean, it could be like your first one. It could be your current one because you've learned so much to get to where you are. I don't know.
There's so many to choose from, and I think that
is there like world? Is there a world that you love the most?
Well, kind of what I built for Wizards of Zakaria is really just something special to me. But at the same time, some of the games I ran before I was brave enough to build my own world and kind of borrowing from Forgotten Realms, I'm just like, wow, the things I did to like make everything. We get crazy. We run like 2 or 3 campaigns at a time.
Yeah.
Which now we do live streaming because that's who we are. But when I was doing it in personal games, I went to great lengths to tie everything together. So like, even though these parties have never interacted, things they're doing are affecting the other games.
The other games, that's cool. I think that's important as a DM and a storyteller, right? To have things happening in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have to cut you off because you know what's coming.
Oh,
you
really?
hear the whistle blowing in the distance because it's about to be a hype train. This must be the weirdest experience.
I'll do something different.
Oh, we're doing
it's
different.
very weird. It's very weird. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of the weirdest things I've done.
We'll figure out how to get sound over to you next time.
Is it so long? Oh my gosh. It seems like it gets longer every time.
Title of never mind. Wow. Okay. Well, that was a wonderful hype train. Thank you, folks, for continuing to send those biddies and the noms and the bleep boops and the choops and the blorps. And I'm just reading chat out as it's happening. All right. So let me ask you, as a DM for Top Down Tabletop, do you have a favorite character flaw that stands out the table? Because I'm personally partial to the flaws. Like, I make every character unoptimized in some sort of way because I like to be insane like that. Is there something that sticks out for you as a DM that you find creatively adds so much more to your story?
Yeah, I mean, all my players are amazing, and they always come with so much of a rich backstory and, you know, a lot of positives and negatives on the characters. And I think that the way that Vix in particular, like, plays her character in a way that, like, she knows she could be more successful as Wes.
Right.
But she intentionally chooses things that she's like, no, this teenage boy is going to do this stupid thing. And I just respect that so much. Yeah, exactly.
I tend to do something like that in all of my characters. I love the trope of I love playing the characters where it's they think there's something that they're not. Like, I recently played on the Dollar Store DM show where I played a gnome bard who really was an orc barbarian, but swore up and down that he was a gnome bard and he was a circus act and had acrobatic abilities that nobody could really fathom.
So you're going to not want to miss the holiday special on Careful Cantrip.
Okay. What's the date? Plug it.
The date is
Where's Vix?
20 something.
something.
I'm so bad at this. I think it's the 21st. It is the 21st.
Perfect.
And Reina is going to be doing her first live DMing.
Oh, cool.
And I have been invited to play a character.
And a character you are playing from the
yes.
Yeah. We got to shout out Wawa Tessie Plays. She said Gurg, which is my name backwards. She created a character based off of Griorn Smashstone, and it was very similar to that. Because I am actually a tall human being. I'm about 6'4" in real life, and all of my characters I play are tiny little characters. And so she decided to make me in the game being I can't even remember, a giant tiefling or something like that ran around doing acrobatic feats and singing and generally being annoying and asking if we leveled up.
Oh, fair enough. That's awesome, man. Did she put that in as an NPC?
No, that was her character. She played that character in some one-shots. Yep. The whole time. And I was the DM, so I had to keep calling her hilarious. Yeah, it was great. It's great. Hilarious isn't the adjective I'd use. So, let me ask you, if you had a campaign do-over or could retcon a messy situation that kind of derailed where your campaign was going or how you had intended it to be, what would it be?
Ooh, I mean, mine, I have an answer, but it's kind of a serious thing.
Okay.
If that's okay, like it touches on things that might be uncomfortable.
You can touch me uncomfortably all you want, Shanks.
Gosh.
You made it weird.
early on in Wizards, there was an encounter with these bandits, and they were trying to intimidate the Wizards to move along, kind of thing. And it kind of kept escalating, and no one took any actions. So eventually, as sort of a last ditch effort, the bandit in my control, the bandit sort of escalated to threatening one of the females with something unpleasant. And I really wish I hadn't brought that into the game. I don't want that to be in there. And, even though I'm like, well, a bandit might do that. They're trying to intimidate them. They're trying to scare them. I just felt like, that's too far. This is a game. Let's not bring that in.
Right.
So if I could go back in time and change that encounter, I would.
And I think as the popularity of D&D grows, and tabletop RPGs kind of as a whole, there's more of an awareness of, I guess, an appropriate level of behavior, an appropriate level of storytelling. In fact, we were having that chat in our Discord about Robert Jordan's writing, and because Wheel of Time just came out on Prime Video, and I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I've seen the first two, yeah.
Oh, you have watched them. I haven't, and everybody's mad at me because I was the one hyping it up. But I like to binge. I got to see the whole thing. I can't do this weekly waiting crap. But people were saying like Robert Jordan's style of writing is very misogynistic. It's very like old school, relating it to like old school D&D and the things that people would say and do in these worlds. And I think it's important that we're moving past that. We're growing kind of as society is growing. We're also growing at the table and making sure that everybody's comfortable in whatever's happening.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think that's a great thing to kind of, it's like a positive, you just gave me the job interview response because you made a positive out of a negative.
I mean, not really. I very much think it was a negative. It's just something that I regret, and I think about a lot because I'm like, that's out there too. Like that's part of our story. Yeah. And I can't erase that, and I feel bad about that.
It's interesting. A lot of people use their session 0 to kind of figure out how far people are willing to go with that kind of conversation. I know, like we talked about it on ours before starting the DDnD show. It was like how much stuff, and everybody was kind of in agreement. Like, let's not, rape culture is not cool, and let's treat people respectfully. At the same time, you got to have a level of, there has to be some kind of villainous behavior happening.
No, absolutely, yeah. Like, no way was it ever painted as a positive or even a neutral thing. Like, it was very much a bad guy doing a bad guy thing. Yeah. But at the same time, I was like, that's just too far for a game. I would hate to have somebody who come into like top-down tabletop and be like, "Oh, this is such a great group. I want to catch up on their backstory."
That's the first thing they
and
see.
Then they get to that episode and they're like triggered or something. And they're like, I can't watch them anymore.
Yeah.
That would just break my heart. So, yeah, that's something I think about.
That's fair, and it's cool that you actually are able to talk about that and let people know that it's something that you're aware of and it happened and you can change going forward.
Yeah, I think honesty is important.
So you are playing as Kane?
Yes.
An elf wizard in Wizards of Zakaria. Zakaria?
Yes, Zakaria.
I'm so bad at names.
You did it great.
Okay, thank you.
That's perfect.
But you're also DMing at the same time. So what kind of challenges does that have you face while you're doing it?
A lot of people talk about this issue, and I've seen a lot of negativity towards it because certainly this is something that people have abused in the past, probably presently a lot too. But the challenges that I face with it are mostly about just making sure I double check my decisions regarding things that are going on around my character mostly. But I'm very good at compartmentalizing, which is something that I do with the NPCs already anyway, right? The NPC only has so much knowledge. Even his best friend next to him, who is his partner in crime kind of thing, doesn't know the same things that NPC knows. So I'm already doing this whole look at them within the box. This box is their universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I do that with my character. And when my character makes decisions, I have to cut out any knowledge that I have as the DM. And when I do things for characters, or when I'm planning things that might happen or they might get or anything like that, then I do those decisions within the box of, what and why and how, and, take my own desire out of it.
It plays into like the two things. Something you had mentioned earlier about there is a story happening outside of the story. So you as the DM know that, but you're compartmentalizing that exact or what your character would know. And I think I agree with you. I would have said like the general consensus is like, oh my God, don't let the DM play a character. I mean, that's what you see online, right? Like, I'm trying to think if I've ever had the experience where DM played a character. I don't think so. But I've seen the way that you play it, and it's important what you do with the compartmentalization is, and that's how it works out that your groups aren't upset that your character suddenly becomes the OP character who knows everything, knows there's a trap up there, like et cetera, right? It can become tricky pretty quickly.
Yeah, Kane has his own personality and his own desires and his own ambitions, and Kane's going to be Kane. At the end of the day, I do not make decisions based on the fact that I know I can pull him out of the fire, because I don't. I will let him die on the battlefield.
Has anybody called you Big Daddy Kane?
No.
Okay, well, it's canon.
No, I've got a lot of nicknames. Kane isn't particularly popular in the group.
True.
He's kind of an
Big
asshole.
Daddy Kane is. Look, at Top Down Tabletop said, "Well, they will now."
Oh my gosh!
I just want to address a couple things here, going back to what we were talking about with the kind of shift, the paradigm shift, or the societal shift, or the awareness shift within the TTRPG community. Scarred Face Fairy says, right, as a female gamer is happy that the gaming community is moving past those sexist, racist, and homophobic ways. Of course, you'll get bad apples, but that comes with everything. And I couldn't agree more with that. Like,
absolutely.
None of that needs to be in a story to tell a good story. I know that a lot of the backlash to that is saying, well, in the medieval times, it was like this, and there was class systems and blah blah blah. Okay.
Yeah, but there wasn't magic, was there? There wasn't
Exactly.
dragons. Like, there's no reason that has to be a part of this world.
100%. And Wawatesi said, I feel like role-playing games are already pretty deep into people's real fantasies, and that's part of crossing the line. Playing a character who would rape someone, in some sense, shows where your interests lie to your fellow gamers. Yeah, I think there's maybe some underlying subtext there that you have to be aware of. And also, I think there's a way to do it appropriately too. Like, I think there's a way to touch on this stuff if that's what you're going to do.
If you can do it respectfully, and if your players are on board with the fact that you're planning to go into some real dark places, then I personally, it wouldn't trouble me too much if someone was like, we're doing a private campaign, because I don't think it should be streamed if that kind of content's in it, because you will hurt people. But if in a private game you're like, we're gonna, it's not being painted in a positive light, but these are things that are going on that the party might have to face and struggle with, and I'd be like, okay, I'm okay with that, because I deal with worse on a day-to-day basis, so it really doesn't faze me all that much. It just, I can probably even get into character more with the righteous anger about everything.
Yeah, and then you'll finally play Paladin.
No, I will not.
And there's another thing that we particularly try to do on the DDnD show is I play a character who is of, for all intents and purposes, of Caribbean descent. I'm white, but me culturally, I grew up, lived in the islands for years. I do the music. I'm very culturally involved in that community. And that was something that was important to me to bring forward into something that, you generally don't see. Luckily, DNDW me, our friendly DM Peter, he was very open to the idea of it. And Wawatesi, who's in chat, is indigenous herself, so she brings a lot of her culture into it. And we're all trying to do that in the most respectful way possible to expose people to like different things. And I agree with you. There's a way that things can be done in a sensitive manner, and that's what really matters.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Ashley Gibson with the first time chat here.
Hey, Ash, how's it going? It's pretty late for him.
Oh, okay. So we know Kane is a transmutation wizard.
Yes.
Is there another school of magic?
I've got our symbol of transmutation.
Is that what that is? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I totally knew that. I won.
No, well, it's ours. Like Vix made it, so.
Makes sense. Cool. Shout out to Vix, who hasn't drawn me a picture yet, and now I'm back at the bottom of the queue.
She's gonna start putting blank slots between you and.
Yeah. I said earlier I have the exact same relationship with Peter, D&D, W&E. We're just gonna keep going. I'll dig that hole until we reach the other side. Is there another school of magic that you haven't tried, you'd like to try, that kind of piques your interest? You know, there's a lot of different ones with I think there's like the Order of Scribes, and there's some other things that are out there that are fairly new-ish, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, there's quite a few new ones now. They're all pretty exciting, to be honest. Like, I want to play just about every race and class except Paladin. So
shout out to all the Pallies in the chat right now.
The only time I even remotely looked at a Paladin, I'm sorry, I don't mean to rag on Paladins. No judgment on anyone who likes Paladins. I really, like, it doesn't bother me. I think they're great. I think they're fine. They just don't hold any personal interest for me. But the only time I looked at a Paladin was like, maybe I'll play it. I went back and I was like, oh, well, like a lot of the things that I like about this Hex Blades get. So I looked at Hex Blade again. I'm like, oh, and they get a lot more. So like, why? Why would I? I just don't understand.
If correct me if I'm wrong. I always like to preface that I'm not great with keeping up with everything that's going on, but maybe like 3 or 4 books back, there was some really good, like Unearthed Arcana kind of got taken in and made Pallies. Like Pallies became kind of useless, kind of like clerics became kind of useless, and then they brought them back in with some heavy stuff. Or am I just out to lunch?
I don't recall, but I probably saw the word Paladin and said nope. But I'm not. I am bothered by you claiming clerics are useless, because clerics can be OP as hell.
Can they? Explain it to me, because I don't get it. Like, as a lifelong bard,
first of all, like the spell Spirit Guardians alone is worth taking the class.
Okay,
like,
go on.
Are you familiar with the spell?
Nope.
So it's like every creature you choose, so not your allies, within 15 feet of you, has to pass a saving throw every turn or take damage. If they pass, I think they take half damage, and the terrain within that space is difficult terrain.
I do know that. I think I've DM'd that, actually.
It is such a fucking bomb.
I hate this right now.
Yeah. And then when you factor in, like, clerics generally get, like, good armor, shields, a decent, weapon, plus spiritual weapon, which doesn't require concentration.
Okay, but if you're playing cleric, you're predominantly support? Hot take?
No.
Okay.
You can be great support. You can be a real good healer.
Yeah.
Or you could also just be a tank / DPS.
Yeah, I guess I haven't
dish
really.
It out.
I haven't dove into it enough, because I've always just thought, that's just your healer. That's your generic, not run of the mill, but like best healer in the game type deal. But if I was going to do that, why wouldn't I just go druid and have more fun?
You can even with a couple level dip into cleric, you can make other classes OP as hell. I have a cleric wizard that I play. 2 levels of cleric, Tempest cleric. How
do you explain that from a role playing perspective?
Oh, buddy, you're opening so many cans of worms.
Let's go. That's what we're here for.
So this boy, who's it's sort of generic backstory at first, but it changes. So village was raided by goblins or orcs or something. Yep. He was sent by his father to the river to hide.
It's always the goblins.
He ended up like losing his grip and like just floating down river kind of thing.
Oh.
Starts drowning. Like the whole thing, like he's drowning and looking back and seeing his family slaughtered and everything. Whole thing turns his hair white, well, grayish, really. Just takes the color out of his hair, and he gets fished out of the river, which is feeding into the Sea of Fallen Stars, by the way, Forgotten Realms lore.
Oh,
and he gets fished out by this family of dwarves who run like a trade company. They're all followers of Thor, and under that pantheon, like grayish or white hair is seen as a sign of wisdom and promise. And so they're like,
this is chef's kiss. I love that.
This kid, like he's got to be something special. So they raised him like basically as a dwarf. And he ended up growing to be like 6'8" and like huge, and he went.
It's me in real life.
He went to the temple, the Temple of the Avenging Hammer, and became a priest of Thor, and like, you know, after years of serving and everything and learning his powers and everything, he goes, you know, I don't think that Thor wants me to just sit around in this temple and grow weak and stop sharpening my mind. I think I'm going to go travel and really see if I can affect the weave myself the way that he does, and became a wizard and went out as this buff, tanky wizard in plate mail with a shield and a hammer, casting spells and learning things. Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite characters. Like, it's so close. Like him and my pirate storm sorcerer are like neck and neck for my favorite character.
I want to play this character now. That's like, that backstory is ooh.
And then there's a lot of things that kind of overlap. So I went with Abjuration Wizard. So plate mail, shield, arcane ward from the Abjuration Wizard, right. Shield spell, shield of faith if I need it.
So you're tanking.
I'm tanking like crazy, but I'm also a blaster and I can heal.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a cool
and then
mix.
Certain things, like because it's 2 levels of Tempest Cleric, one of his divine channel divinity things is to maximize any spell with thunder and lightning damage. So once I got lightning bolt, now everyone in a line that I can make is going to take maximum damage from lightning bolt.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the white hair, so he is Thor.
I mean, like, yeah, he's like the closest thing. Although his mentor, one of his dads, basically, because he had one of the dwarves was like his dad, but then at the temple, one of the priests was like his dad. This guy is actually like 7'4" and like even bigger than him. Basically, is Thor. But they always like they have this whole relationship going back and forth where they keep calling each other small and like they look like they're getting weak.
That's right up my alley. I love it.
It's so good. It's so good. That campaign was all just a complete blast. DM'd by Vix, of course, because she's amazing.
Yeah, you know what? I need to go and pay more attention to the shows that she's running. I haven't actually caught a whole episode of her DMing. I keep it real, I keep it honest, and I want to see that. Because she's so creative and talented, I think it would be very cool. But what I can tell is from your backstories, like, you're a DM through and through, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could just tell the creativity is there.
Oh, man. I love a good story. I love weaving everything together and you know, getting every character to have anchors within the world.
It's fantastic. Do you write any of it down?
Yeah.
I wrote with my hand like this and then was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. No, I type everything. So yeah, like I do for campaigns and stuff I'm running in particular. When Petulant Cobra, aka David, was joining our group, he was like, oh, so you probably have a lot of like stuff written out that you're going to need me to see. And in my head, I'm like, I don't really have a lot written down, to be honest. But like I'll talk through a lot of stuff with you when we get a chance. And then I go to my Google Docs where I have everything written down. And I'm like, oh shit, there's like 20 pages here.
Oh, wow.
And that was just the primer for before we started the campaign.
Oh, wow. That begs the question, because I actually just recently, in fact, preparing for the show, went back through kind of all of my notes on the DDnD show. Do you ever go back and kind of review stuff? Like, how often do you do that?
Yeah. Every time there's an episode coming up.
Do you just review the last episode, or do you go back and kind of peek at all of your notes and kind of figure out where things are?
I sort of peek at what I expect to be relevant.
Yeah.
And then I also have I'll have like 9 tabs in the background ready to go if something I didn't expect comes up.
Yeah, like the age-old question, what's his name? Or what's their name?
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah, we've got like an NPC list with like accents and ages and descriptions and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time an episode's coming up, I kind of review what I've done already, what needs to be done, things that are going on in the background so that I know, what details they might learn. There's so much. Like I do a fair bit of prep for each episode.
What do you do? What do you do as a player?
As a player?
Nothing. You just show up.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I show up and cause problems. That's
exactly what you are supposed to do.
Once a month, I get this amazing privilege to just experience Vix as a DM and just cause problems for everyone in that
just
world.
Just relax.
It's so fun. Oh my gosh.
I can agree to that sentiment. Like that's how I feel about DMing. I was doing, in fact, while we're testing, I'll tell you, she was in my first campaign that I was DMing, and she had never played before. And oh my God, like I'm sweating by the end of it. And we weren't streaming or anything. We were playing online by ourselves, but I am just drenched and stressed out, and because there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to learn, they're learning. It's just, yeah. It's fun. So there's actually some stuff I've been holding up in chat. I want to go back to the deep discussion we were talking about with sort of about like the sensitive issues of D&D and TTRPGs in general. Keating Woodwrights wrote about my character. He said to me, I think the way that you are playing about your race versus Griorn is clearly coming from a place of appreciation, not appropriation. And that is something that's, very much in the back of my mind. Not being, I'm born in Canada. I lived in the islands, but I'm born here. I am Canadian. And so now I'm playing a character who's for all intents and purposes, Caribbean descent. It's kind of a weird thing to play. Have you ever run into anywhere where you've thought people were taking things too far or taking liberties that maybe they shouldn't have been taking? Without getting too negative.
No, not really, to be honest. The people that I have around me have always had good intentions, and I at least factor that in. There may very well be people who have thought otherwise about it. I'm not sure. I know I do a lot of voices and accents and stuff. I don't intend them to be necessarily, in most cases, related to any particular like culture in the real world.
Yeah.
Though they're often similar to ones I know because it's hard to make up an accent.
Exactly.
But like it's not intended to be any sort of caricature of any group of people. It's just sort of that this is what this guy sounds like. Now I am actually Northern Irish. In like I'm born here, but dual passport. Families from Northern Ireland.
Oh, that's cool.
So I tend to do Irish accents in almost every campaign for at least one character. What was really funny is Cheryl, who plays with us, her husband watched one of our streams and he goes, his Irish accent's really good. I was like, that feels good because like, yes, my family's from there. I've been there many times. I know the accent well, but a native speaker who, still speaks with a very heavy accent saying it sounds exactly like I'd expect in the northern countryside. Perfect. That's what I was going for.
There's no better compliment than that. in fact, that's a good thing that you brought up, because for me, accents that has kind of been a major barrier to entry for me. In fact, I talked about it with Ty in the first episode of the Dungeons, Dragons, and Bikes, where we were all our backstory is that we started a campaign together, and then we from that moved into what we're doing now. But at that time, I was playing pretty much the same character, and I could do a very authentic sounding West Indian accent, but it just felt so weird and awkward, and I didn't want people to judge me, and I backed away. I backed out of it. So it's cool to hear that you can lean into it and do it. I'm not there.
I mean, mine aren't great either, so I feel like probably most people are like,
you got your Irish card.
I got the Irish one. The Irish one is good. I know that. In fact, it's so good that before I was married, when I was visiting in Ireland, I kind of adopted it and I was just using it regularly. And to the point that I was in a pub and I told this girl, like, I'm Canadian. She did not believe me.
you.
Like, I'm only here for a few weeks. Like this, we're just hanging out. Like, it's like, come on. And then I said the word "a" by accident.
Oh,
and she said, "You are Canadian."
Yeah, I can like one up that. I actually was in Trinidad because I lived there for years, and I had the police holding on to my arm during carnival time one time, and I was pretty drunk, and I couldn't get out of the Trinidad accent. And I'm saying to him, I'm like, I'm Canadian, but I'm saying like, yeah, man, I'm Canadian, I'm telling him, like, yeah, I'm Canadian. He's like, no, you're not. Like, you sound like that, you're not Canadian. And I was trying so hard to get my accent out. We have Kaz the DM who said, I'd like to add, as an Indian, I've been more eager to come in and bring my culture into my games and even my art and my characters in future. And actually, I watched Kaz, one of his streams when he was drawing a character, and he added a whole Indian influence. And I'm here for it. Like,
yeah, man,
so cool. And that's kind of the point, right? Like, to me, the way that D&D was set up was that nothing's off limits, and that like people were supposed to experience different things at the table. And I think that's Absolutely. What the point. It's like a melting pot of ideas. It's a melting pot of creativity. It's with, as in everything in life, as long as it's communicated appropriately, it's dope.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think that D&D is one of those things that can absolutely open up new cultures and experiences to people that might not normally get that opportunity. Again, if done with good intentions and respectfully, I don't see any issue with it.
And then going on to talking about accents, I think Ellie was saying, I feel like I focus more on how I'm talking as opposed to what I'm saying when you're trying to do an accent. And that's 100% what was happening to me in trying to do a Caribbean accent in front of people who are not from the Caribbean. And it was weird. Yeah, I got in my head too much about it.
Yeah, that can happen. That can happen.
And then Wawatesi always says, the more I drink, the more I fall out of all of my accents.
Yeah.
Like if I'm DMing and I'll start off great, all the accents are organized and I'm doing different things, and then I just I slip out of it the entire time. She always knows that's the indicator.
Yeah, I've been there too. And I mean, I even remember an experience early on when there was a conversation happening between two characters that I was controlling. And I'm jumping back and forth between them, between like experiences and backgrounds and cultures and two completely different accents. And eventually they started switching.
It's like I don't know if you've ever watched Seth MacFarlane do readings for Family Guy. He's constantly going between all the different characters. Oh God, that's a nightmare. Your brain just starts to explode.
It's
or implode, possibly.
Maybe.
Okay, Shanks, I'm having a ton of fun here, and I know that we were kind of trying to keep this to an hour. Are you okay keeping going? I got more questions for you, or we have a game we can play. How do you feel?
We could do some more questions first.
Okay. Well, then I have the best question here out of all of the questions.
Just pour some more wine.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, we need to hydrate in chat, please. I have written, you're very active in the community, as discussed. So besides Griorn Smashstone, do you have a favorite character in any of the other games that you've watched online? That's a tough one.
Only watched, right? Like not participated in.
Only watched.
Okay.
Yeah, ones that you're not involved with actively. And we have a lot of people in chat right now that are going to be disappointed if you don't pick them.
I'm pretty partial to Eli.
I knew you were going to do it. I
mean, but like there's several characters in there that are amazing and
they're
like
so good.
Yeah. No, they're all amazing, really. But there's three in particular that resonate with me.
Yes.
That being like Eli and Lucy.
There was a hydrate, by the way, just in case.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'll have another drink then. Yeah, no, but like I don't know. Eli is such a rogue, and Jess does it so well.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yup, this is what we're here for.
This is what you expected, and it's happening, and I feel good about it.
Oh, we got another hydrate.
Oh, another one. Okay.
Wait, we've got. Is that 4? What are we supposed to do with? Are we like seriously supposed to
just keep drinking? Are we doing shots now? Is that what's happening?
Oh my gosh, you are not supposed to chug wine.
Oh no. Oh boy. Well, true to form, I'm drinking rum and coke because my character has his own rum label called Bacchanal Rum. That's also a reference to a Caribbean thing / Greek thing. But anyway, there has been a risky question in chat. Boxers or briefs?
Oh, I wear, I guess you call them boxer briefs, maybe, or
yeah,
like the sport boxers, whatever you call them. Yeah. Yeah, you know, they really, they give you a good shape, you know?
Yeah, furthering that line of questioning, have you tried like the sax style where it's got like, it's like a, like inside it holds you, carries you real nice? It's like, you haven't tried that yet. It's gonna change.
No.
It's gonna change your life.
Is it like a separate pocket, like in the middle?
It's like a pocket for your junk that your junk sits in, and it's really comfortable. Except it's not super comfortable if you're gonna like do some working out and get sweaty or something. See, chat said sax pouch is where it's at. You need this is gonna change your life. It's gonna change your life.
Well, take it from tree junk. This guy knows what he's talking about.
So shout out Tree Junk in the chat. He hates chatting, but he's usually around, and I respect it. That is my forever DM, Tree Junk there. Folks, give a level up to Tree Junk in the chat, please.
We've got some more
sacks are amazing. Sacks of holings. This is great. And no, there's definitely no cooldown on the hydrate.
Oh gosh. I only have so much wine though, so if you wear it out, you wear it out.
You can just pretend. Nobody will know. Okay.
It's a clear glass. Feel like they're gonna know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You've foiled my plans here. I have an odd question for you actually, as a streamer, and hopefully if Vix is still watching, she might end up having to answer this one. What do you find most rewarding with the Twitch community versus, say, moving over to YouTube? And have you had that conversation yet?
Oh, we post our stuff on YouTube. Yeah, Vix, after the fact, uploads them to YouTube.
But what about streaming to YouTube?
Oh, I don't even know what that looks like, and I don't even remotely want to touch it.
Yeah, okay.
But the community, I mean, we've talked about the community already, but like the community we have around us is so amazing. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
I agree.
If you told me it'll be a completely different community, but you would start out at 2,000 subscribers on YouTube tomorrow, I'd be like, no, not a chance. We like where we are. We like the people who are around us, and we want to keep going.
I think I totally agree with that. And I say that from a position of, in a weird way, I feel like we hijacked your community in the sense that like we all got together and there's so much crossover, and it's insane how so welcoming everybody has been, and how people still are very active, like across all of it. You know,
absolutely. Before
we got going, you and I were talking about like how difficult it is to find time to go and make sure that we're touching everybody. And well, you know, that's phrasing.
Speaking of which, I'm going to go touch the Careful Cantrip crew for the first time soon.
Okay, there you go. Everybody's getting touched. Everybody must get touched. Never mind. That's I made it weird. Getting back onto the rails here, is there an ultimate goal in mind for the length of your campaigns when you do them, or do you kind of freeform it and allow your characters to drive the narrative, like to an obvious conclusion of some sort?
I do try to let the characters drive it. I do have a main storyline going on in the world. So, what's that
sorry.
about?
We got bits.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. We're gonna get back to another hype train just so you can do your dance again.
Well, I think there's a cooldown on that, isn't there?
On the hype train?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Come on, Shanks. You and me are kind of the same. I don't know how this works. I just show up.
Yeah, fair enough. I was going to argue, and I was like, no, I would be lying. Oh fuck, I lost the question. Oh, right. So for Wizards, at least, like, there is an overall storyline happening within the world.
Yeah. And
like the whole point of this story is to follow the people who are sort of the most influential in that storyline. Now, is there an absolute end to it? No. Do I know what the end is going to be? Not even close. Like, there's so many possible ways they could approach all of this shit that's going on.
All the variables, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like, even if they hit level 20, it wouldn't necessarily mean like, well, now you can solve the problem. It would be, it's a very complicated thing in my head. And so basically it'll end when it ends. I don't have a set amount of time or a set quest that's going to finally end it or anything like that.
You just kind of have the main storyline, and then whatever happens in between that is how it all plays out, right?
Yeah, the resolution will be whatever the characters end up doing in the end.
That's cool. I think that's how, I think that's the way it's supposed to be. Do you spend much time, if they're getting kind of too far away, do you try to guide them back into it?
Nope.
No, you let it go.
No, let them go. Now they want to deal with this. They want to progress.
Exactly. I think as a player, you kind of know what the main plot line is, right?
Yeah. They don't even, like, realistically, they don't really understand like what the whole scope of the problem is yet.
Right.
Or what's required to fix it. But they know that.
And you say that coming up.
Sorry,
you say that coming up on your 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
So you've been at it for a year.
Yeah.
And they still haven't really got a grasp on what's going on.
Correct.
That is DnD. I love that.
There's so many even little details that they don't understand yet, and those are like minor one-off. Okay, so you've just brought another question to my head here, because that's something as a DM, I'm very, very sneaky, and I always give little tiny little plot hooks and things, and then they never take them, or they never realize it's a plot hook. How do you deal with that? Yeah, you just brush it off? You ever seen a farmer sowing seed?
No, I haven't, but I'll go play Farming Simulator tonight.
Nowadays it's all done with machinery. But just imagine a big bag full of plot hooks and interesting things going on in the world. I just grab a handful and I toss it out there, and if nobody takes any of it, okay, a few more steps, toss another one. And
the ones that you like, do you start continuing to kind of breadcrumb in front of them?
If something's really important, then it will come up again, because if it remains uninteracted with,
right,
more things are going to happen around it.
Yeah.
So this isn't something that's going on in Wizards, so I'll just use it as an example kind of thing. Say there's a plague in one town, right? And you tell your players, like somebody's like, oh, I just came from there. Everyone's sick. It's crazy. Like, oh, that's weird. And they continue on. And then, they might, in a major city here, like, oh, we've dispatched a number of our healers to go and try to deal with this thing that's going on. And then maybe they don't interact with it again. Maybe one day they actually make their way through there, and it's like, oh shit, everyone here's dead.
And for me, I think that was an important thing to learn from a DM perspective, is like how to bring back the plot lines. Like, I struggled with that early on. What you just said there, I think what I would have immediately done was, on their trip away from there, they meet somebody on the road who's struggling from the plague that's happening in the thing, and then maybe they'll go, oh, well, maybe we should be there. And then if they don't, then, like what you said, okay, now I'm in the city. This plague thing keeps coming up as a topic of discussion. It keeps growing. It keeps getting bigger. As an early DM, I didn't understand that whatsoever. I was like, I gave it to you. You guys didn't pick it. I have no idea how to turn that around and get that back into the discussion, without like railroading, because that's like, it's what you're doing is railroading.
Essentially, yeah. And to some degree that's fine with certain things. Like there's definitely been times where if they didn't take the plot hook, I'm like, okay, I'll come up with a second plot hook for that same sort of thing that I want to do. but typically what I prefer to do is just to have the world live on without their interaction. So if something's important and it's not being dealt with, it gets worse.
Exactly. And I think that level of patience and willingness to let the story tell itself is what differentiates good DMs and great DMs, right? Like,
maybe
I think
there's a lot of positive to also having a very like really in-depth, carefully crafted quest that you find a way to get them interested into. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a great way to play. It's just as I've grown as a DM, I've found that this way is more my style, where it's like I really want to let go and let you interact with the world as you see fit, as long as you're aware that I will continue to run the world when you're not interacting with it.
Right. There's like consequences matter, right? Like that's the biggest thing that when running a campaign that people need to understand. And I think what you're saying is part of it. It's like there's a difference between a one shot and a campaign. Like there's a different, and I use the term one shot loosely. There's a difference between a guided story and a campaign. Like the campaign should be free form, should be narrative driven, and do what you're saying. And I agree with you completely. Like if they don't pick up on it now, they might pick up on it later in other ways. And I'm just saying from a DM's perspective, from a young DM's perspective, that was a hurdle for me. Like that took me a while to figure out how to circle back and how to get people kind of where I wanted them to be, to latch onto the things. And on top of that, what I didn't take it as like, oh, they're so stupid, I need to like guide them. I took it more of like, oh, I've messed up. I'm not telling this story in a way that makes it obvious that this is what they need to be doing, right?
Right. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, what they need to be doing is whatever
they're doing
think should be done. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's no, that's definitely. And almost every session, something goes on where I'm like, oh, I either really expected you to grab hold of that and chase that down, or I really thought you would interact with this group differently. Things like that, or like, you've really taken this one issue like to heart much more than I ever expected.
Yeah, that's
going to be cool. And every time I kind of take it as like, oh, exciting. So now this is what you want to do. Very cool. Okay, let's see what we can do with that, You
have to be flexible as a DM. I think, or to be a good DM. I think that makes the difference. Okay.
I sort of only like render the world as they look at it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of DMs have like tons and tons of prep for a session because like they're going to do this and they're going to go there and they're going to see this guy and they're going to talk to them. And me, I'm like, they gotta head generally in this direction.
Okay, so
what they're gonna do.
Give us advice on those situations where you're not prepared. Like they do something, they go left. You're expecting them to go right, they go left. What goes through your mind, and how do you handle that without giving away that you're not prepared?
Oh, I'm very intimate with my world. Weird way to phrase it.
Yeah. We've been doing that a lot tonight.
I know it inside out, like not really, but like I know it well enough that I know where things are. I know what's likely to be around the corner. I know who people are. And so like if you're like, oh, we're actually gonna go to this town first because we want to check for this, or we just want to go this way because we don't want to pass through that town, whatever the case may be, then I know enough about the region and I know enough about the world and I know enough about the culture of the people in the area that I'm like, I can fill this in like that. Like, it's literally something that to me, it's a blank square on the map right now. Right. But as soon as you start walking into it, I'm like, well, this is what would be there. Logically, this is the kind of road you're on. Logically, this is the kind of economy that exists in that town. This is how many people roughly are there. And I just kind of fill it in as they're walking towards it. And my players are so good at like inter-party interaction that like they give me the time to process this in the background. Yeah.
That's cool. And I think it's like you're coloring in. You've drawn it and they're coloring it in.
Yeah.
And I think I think that's the way it should be, and that's what I love about D&D in and of itself, is that it's a joint interaction. It's community storytelling. It's not just one person telling the story. And you need
it's a collaboration.
Exactly, and you got to be flexible and open to it as you go. I've certainly played at one point in my illustrious career, I was playing 6 times a week, like 6 days a week. And DMing 2 and playing 4, and it was intense. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very hyper obsessed, and that's why. But for me, like, that's how I learned really quickly. And you get to see kind of the difference in different people's play styles and different DMing styles. And I have always been attracted to that open, collaborative experience. Like, I'm a creative person. I don't want to be stifled creatively, and I think that works. And I think when you go and watch people's streams, like your stream at Top Down Tabletop, now I know Wizards. I haven't seen some of the new ones, but I know that that's the flow that you guys all have with each other, that you're working off of each other. And like you said earlier on in the discussion, once it's said, it's canon.
Exactly.
It exists.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I struggle with a little bit, is that responsibility. Like, that's sort of the biggest hurdle I face as a DM, is because I know once I've said it, that's set in stone. And like, I need someone who like writes down my every word.
I was going to say, do you go back and have to watch your stream and write it down, or?
And I can't. I literally can't. I can't sit through it. I can't stand to watch myself or hear myself. I don't understand why people seem to like me.
Oh, get out of here!
No, for real, man. Like, I'm not trying to do the self-deprecation thing.
Sure.
I put it on. There's one time where I was like, I literally cannot remember. Granted, there's a little bit of whiskey involved in that stream, but I was like, I literally can't remember the last 20 minutes. And I had to go back, and I literally had to like have it minimized, and I literally had to have music playing, so it like kind of distorted my voice, because I was like, I cannot stand what I'm hearing.
Wow. Well, let's let chat let you know why we love paying attention to you. This is not a normal behavior, Shanks. You should be comfortable with yourself as a human being, but also you're great at what you do. And what I've seen, you are very good. Like, it's something that I actually, it's kind of a weird thing to say. I admire how level you are. Like me, I'm kind of like, whoa, I'm hyper and I'm way crazy. You are just perfectly level throughout the whole thing. And I've always admired people that are able to do that and keep their cool. And also,
Really, eh?
Top Down Tabletop said I'm mostly in it for his hair. So there's that too.
She's not lying.
So
the hair and the beard. Like,
the hair and the beard.
Yeah.
Just retconning here a bit. There were a whole bunch of gifts that came in from Tree Junk himself. This is a fellow who was my first DM. He's my forever DM. He taught me a lot about DMing, and I wish that he would get his act together and let us play again. That was my first in-person experience with D&D, and from there he created a monster. Not to take anything away from Peter, who I love dearly and is also my forever DM, but I have to give respect where respect is due. And he taught me this thing about, I guess it wasn't really talking, but his whole campaign was focused on morality and the decisions that the group makes and how much that affects their morality and the world morality. And it was very weighted in that sense. And I think that's super important to the story. So how does that relate to you in your campaigns? Talk about it.
I mean, morality is something that I fuck with.
Sorry, Peter just said, well, I'll go and just die in a hole now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Eli's right. If you think I'm super level, just check out any of the clips from Ice Cream Sunday.
That's true. I've watched you. We were watching Alien Isolation the other day, and I had to like mute it and try not to watch it because I want to play the game, but I kept seeing you screaming. I think I've clipped you screaming at a plant when you were playing something a while ago.
Yes. Yeah, I was playing Phasmophobia with
Phasmophobia. You turned around, there was a plant. You're like, ah! Sorry for the ears.
I was so spooked already. That's what happened. I turned the corner and I just expected it to be an open like room. There's just a human-sized plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Human size is relative. Let's be honest. It was just a plant. In your head,
about
it's
the
like
same size as the character sprites.
Okay. Let's go back to
So-
the clips.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah.
morality in your games, how does that affect your world, and how does it play into your player characters?
I like when my players don't. I like it when they lose track of what morality is.
Mm.
And don't get me wrong, I think that morality is actually like they're oh gosh, why?
Yeah, check the clip out.
I think that in real life, morality is often more black and white. There are grays. Don't get me wrong. There are grays. But I feel like in real life I have a pretty strong sense of morality. But in D&D, being in control of all things, I like to force them into situations where they go, we don't know what's right or wrong.
Mm.
I think that it's just so much more interesting to have both the players and the characters really questioning themselves, questioning their motives, questioning the outcomes. I think that it's just a lot of fun as a DM.
I want to say two things to that. Do you demote or promote your characters based on the decisions they make within the game ever?
No, I just have realistic consequences for choices, whether they're the right choice or the wrong choice. See, I'm never like, that was the right one or that was the wrong one. What I'm like is, that choice you made caused these things.
Okay, so for me, relating to what you're saying, whenever I'm running a campaign, I am generally aware of the alignment that the character's playing, and I like to go, 2-3 one way or 2 or 3 things that they've done the other way, and then we'll have an outside offline conversation about, hey, I think maybe you're starting to skew your character this way. Maybe we need to look at your alignment. Does that ever affect your games in that sense?
Well, we talked about the alignment chart in one game where they had made some questionable choices.
Mm-hmm.
And, we sort of had the discussion of you're probably not where you thought you were on that chart. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like, you have to change it. Like, because to me, that's more of, it's like a guideline more than anything.
Literally the first 2 sentences of the player handbook says this is just a guideline. I live for that.
Like, it's not a hard mechanic. And so they, the fact is they were asking themselves, is this what this character's alignment is still? And that's where I like them to be. They've made at Wizards of Zakaria, they've made choices that you ask 99 out of 100 people to be like, yeah, that seemed like a reasonable choice at the time.
Contextually within the moment, it makes sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, it felt bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also had consequences that they couldn't have expected.
Right.
And it's causing more bad things. Now, how do you feel about that? And, the general consensus is I don't like that.
So, okay,
but at the same time, what are you going to do? You made your call, you went with it.
I would posit to say that you live more in the grays than you think you do in terms of how the world plays out morally. And this is why I go back to what Tree Junk had shown me early on, is that there's going to be decisions that you make that make sense at the time, but that's going to affect the world morality around you. So let's say you go into a town that has some kind of dictator, and the town's telling you this dictator's terrible. You just outright kill that person. Well, that's murder. Sure, you think you've done a good thing, but murder's bad. And then you balance that, right? And then what happens is they leave the town, and the vacuum of power pulls somebody else who's actually way worse. or you know what I mean? Like those kind
Yeah.
of things start to happen, and that's what I love.
Or
about
that organized military force he built up goes looking for other work because no one's paying the bills anymore.
Exactly.
And a raiding party comes in and
takes over
just
the
absolutely
town, decimates everybody.
Yeah, enslaves them, maybe sells them off to someone
even
else.
Worse. Look how your brain works. I wasn't even there.
No, I can come up with really bad consequences for anything.
but that's where like that's what I learned early on through his campaign was that there are consequences to every action. Every action has a reaction, and it lives within more of the gray than I think that we would think of. I agree with you. In my personal life, I think I'm very black and white. I have my morals, I have my standards, I have my honor, and I think I've got that leveled out. But then you start playing a game where you're supposed to be killing people and whatnot, kind of changes your worldview, right?
Well, even not killing someone can have very negative consequences. Like anything you do can have really weird and negative consequences in the world.
Or
but it might also have unexpected positive ones. Yeah, like
exactly.
Very cool things can come of weird interactions. And trust me, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes of the Wizards campaign where they're like, there are things happening that they have no idea about, all because of choices they made, and eventually they're going to have to come face to face with those.
So to be a DM of a long-term campaign, do you have to be kind of sneaky like that? Like, do you have to get off?
You don't have to be.
I mean, I feel like you do, because I love that shit.
I enjoy being sneaky is a thing. But you don't have to be necessarily.
Yeah. I think you have to every once in a while let your players know like they're not in control. Like every once in a while, just throw something at them. They're like, "Oh shit, something's happening out in the world. We didn't realize. We were unprepared for this." And then that they need to reflect on where they are in this campaign.
You know what else is good? And like now, granted, my players all know this, so I don't have to do it really anymore. But I will anyway eventually. But another thing that's really good for DMs to do is to throw an unwinnable fight at them.
Yeah, so I love that. And
they have to remember that they're not gods.
Well, if you're playing with young players, they don't understand that concept. And more so, and I will say this from a position of a lifelong video gamer, I never understood that concept. I didn't know there was back out. I didn't know there was runaway. You know what I mean? Like if you don't explain that to new players, that can be troublesome.
Yeah. No, absolutely. If you're playing with new players, you need to ease them into that concept.
But I agree. I think that's a great thing every once in a while to remind them they're not the biggest, baddest person on this planet. You know what? It's because I'm a dad. It's like I'm all about putting people in their place. Go to your room.
Is that what it is? Because I'm a dad too.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's just, remember, you are small.
Yeah. I let my one son know all the time. I know everything and I see everything, and he actually believes it. So Tree Jug, I
think that's called gaslighting.
Yeah. Oh, I gaslight the crap out of him. It's for future purposes.
No, I hear you.
Tree Jug said the rules are always guides. I like using it as a way to measure how their character changes and the world echoes action. Story and conflict forces change. Whether that's good or bad change, it's up to them. If you want to be a hero, you have to do the hard thing. It's with great power comes great responsibility, right? That kind of concept. And I think that whole thing is literally what we're talking about. That's what he taught me. Is important in this game. It's not like a video game where your character is the biggest badass. Like, nothing's really gonna stop you unless you press the wrong button at the wrong time, right? So let me ask you, if you had to remove one of the following facets of your TTRPG experience, what would it be? World. Hold on, I got options for you. Okay. World building, i.e., you lose your world building, you only use pre-written scenarios.
Oof, definitely not that one.
You lose your voice acting, so you're just the sultry Shanks alone.
Oh my gosh.
Or you lose in-person playing, online only.
I want to be clear, I love in-person playing, but I would drop that one. Absolutely.
Okay.
Of the three. Now, I've said before, my voice acting isn't really that great, but I do use it to effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I could DM if it just all had to be in my voice. I'm not good at describing a dialect or an accent or anything like that. So without being able to just imitate them to the best of my ability, that would be a big problem for me. And I cannot use pre-written scenarios. I did it once. It was my first time DMing. As soon as it was over, I said, I will never do that again. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't hate it. It was good. It was actually great, to be honest. And our characters it was the Lost Mines of Phandelver. Right. The
that
starter
was one of my
set.
first ones too. I love that.
And yeah, it was fantastic. And that party continued on after that. Like I started homebrewing everything after that.
Literally the same campaign. That's what happened with Ty Barak. Same thing happened with us. That's where we started. We got together. The DM did, well, we'll try Phandelver. We'll go through it. I know it. We'll see how everybody feels, and then at the end of it, we were all ready to keep going. So he did what you're saying. He homebrewed past it. Yeah.
So basically, I had the town sort of offer them the position of Lords of Phandelver, and they rebuilt the manor. Remember the manor that was in ruins?
Yes.
In the town, yeah. So they rebuilt that manor for them to protect them from future attacks.
We left. We went to Neverwinter, so we're terrible people. I'm now.
And so I gave them like a base of operations, and the mine itself they became partners in. And it started producing magic items and everything, and so they had an income and they had lands, and they actually ended up spending most of their wealth like right away by buying the local tavern that had shut down. And they bought one of the farms nearby and everything. and so like they really became invested in this town and in these people and stuff, and we just kind of continued on from there. And then I just implemented a whole bunch of crazy shit that's going on in the world around them, because one, the word's gotten out. People know the mine's active again. And two, there's actually a power struggle going on between this Black King in the North and the Lord's Alliance.
Yeah, but what about the dragon?
The dragon was never interacted with.
I beat the dragon. I'm just saying. I'm just going to throw that out there.
They never went for the dragon. The dragon still holds that.
As a bard, I was able to persuade him, and then we killed him. Imagine that at like level 3 or whatever Phandelver was.
You killed him?
Yeah, I think so. We took a sword.
Shit. He's supposed to leave if you get him down to half HP.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he left. That sounds right.
Okay.
That sounds more correct. But okay, so what was it about the written part of that scenario that you didn't like? Just the confinement?
The confinement, yeah. As soon as I had got my feet wet, I was like, no, we're going to the deep end.
It's because you're creative.
I was like, I want to run this. I have stories I want to tell. Like, let's get off book. Let's do something awesome. It's hard to keep track of who you kill. Of course, Eli would say that. This is why I love Eli.
Yeah. No, that's a great campaign. In fact, Trail Mixin, as part of our group here, she was asking, I believe yesterday on her Trails Trinket stream, about what's a good pre-written. She's going to DM something for some friends soon, and Phandelver came up.
Phandelver's great. I would recommend it highly. Like, honestly, and I would recommend that. I think,
and she's got some newbies, so like Phandelver kind of hits all the notes that you need to hit to understand
it's really
the
good
game.
for that.
Yeah.
I think Waterdeep Dragon Heist is great too, but it's complicated for a new DM.
Haven't played it. I know of it. I haven't played it. Want to play it. I think it would be great, especially if I've already done Phandelver. If we could take that and move over to Waterdeep, that would be kind of cool. But I had suggested Strahd at first when she said it, because like Strahd's kind of one of the most memorable pre-writtens that I've ever played.
Heard good things. I've never played it.
But it's not good for new players. Like,
no.
In Strahd, and we
you
talked
need
about
some level of survival instinct.
Well, you need to be paranoid, and you need to know that nothing is what it seems, and you need to know that's how that works. Oh yeah, Keating Woodwrights was saying this yesterday, that like you need to have some sense of how the game is played, and not in the meta sense, but you need to know that you can be insight checking and perception checking and
right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to be aware of how the game functions.
Yeah, fair enough.
To jump into that one. So anyway, that's a good one. Turning totally left here.
Okay.
Why a wolf as your logo?
I am just a wolf guy. I think it.
Sorry, my baby does that all the time. Ow.
For real. It probably started way back when I saw Princess Mononoke for the first time.
Okay. I'm not an anime guy, so
You should watch it even as a non-anime guy.
Everybody says that. I know. I worked at Nerd Block. I know. They yell at me all the time.
I mean, just as a DM alone, I think it's worth watching.
Okay.
So anyway, I think it kind of started there. I've been really into. I've learned so much about them. I love how intelligent they are as creatures. I like all dogs. I like all canines. They're all the same species, really. I love them all. But like the wolf is sort of the original. It's like the wild, untamed.
The OG.
When I was 15 or 16, we got a wolf dog, part wolf, part Native American Indian dog. So a very, very rare breed, very wild, very, very crazy, and extremely intelligent. And I raised him from a pup to old age, and he passed a couple of years ago. But it sucks. But you go into dog ownership knowing it's coming.
Yes.
But what a great animal. Vix always says he was exactly like me. He would make the same looks.
so he was gorgeous is what you're saying.
He was gorgeous.
Yeah. You admitted it. It's on stream now. Take that. He's not as humble as we all thought.
Oh, I said he was gorgeous.
Oh, okay, cool.
Clarification.
So now you're rocking with the wolf as your logo.
I'm just a wolf guy, I have a lot of like wolf art around my house too. Like I'm that guy. I'm kind of weird.
You need a 3 Wolf Moon t-shirt. I know what to get you for Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. So, sorry, Shanks. Yeah. Before we get going here into our little game that I have prepared for us, do you have a D20, by the way?
I do. Yes, I have a D1020 that was gifted to me by Scissor Dice.
Oh, okay. Must be nice, fancy.
We've done a couple of giveaways with them, and they're fantastic. If anyone hasn't checked out Scissor Dice, they really should. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I'm just
put a link in chat there, Vix. I love that She's I can make her moderate in our chat.
She might be busy with children because.
Oh, that's a good point. Because children.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly. I'm just going to kind of quickly glance over the chat here. B-Town MC, he said, when I DM, I use these scenarios as loose guidelines and inspiration. And I think that's the smartest way to do it, to figure out how to DM. It gives you a really great guideline when you use the pre-written scenarios. And then, like, to your point, Shanks, it limits your creativity. So to be able to jump past that and expand on them, I think is pretty cool. And what a perfect gateway into what D&D is. Keaton Woodwright said, not an anime guy, but I love Princess Mononoke. It's a real good movie.
Yeah.
It's also a series, isn't it? Or it's just a movie?
No, it was just a movie many years ago by Studio Ghibli. Oh. Yeah. It's one of the things that I recommend to people who are even like, I'm not into anime. I'm like, this one you might want to watch anyway. That and like Cowboy Bebop, the series.
And then they now have the live action, right?
Don't.
Okay, I've heard terrible things about it too, but are you saying that from knowing the anime? So, okay, again, I don't do anime. Maybe Avatar is like as anime as I get.
Well, Avatar is Western.
It's North American anime.
It's sort of a Western take on anime.
Yeah.
But it is a Western produced and directed and written show.
I'm pretty sure I've watched like one episode of Castlevania. Like I've tried to get into some of that stuff, and it's like
Castlevania actually does get better.
I've heard that. I need to.
It really does. But like Avatar: The Last Airbender is fantastic. It's probably the best animated series that isn't out of Japan.
What is it?
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, sorry. I agree with you. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I think I enjoyed it because of the North American sensibilities behind it. That's just me. So
I mostly enjoy Zuko's arc. There's There's a scene that makes me cry every time I watch it.
Oh no!
So,
Oh no!
yeah.
It's happening.
I'm always afraid when the episode starts. I'm like, oh no, here we go.
No,
This time I'm gonna hold it together. I know.
Hold on to your butts. Okay, so most important question of the night, and I'm very much hoping that DNDW me is in the chat. In fact, that just happened. I couldn't have planned this better. Did we level up?
No, you actually just lost 500 experience points.
What? Thanks. I've been on your side all night long.
Yeah, I know, but like...
Oh, we've met each other in person. We love each other. Shout out to all the GTA Southern Ontario DMs in the chat. Don't ever group up without me. I also DM, so yeah, put me in on that, folks. So
absolutely.
Let's play a little game.
Okay.
Kind of weird. Not sure how it's going to work. This is our first episode with a guest. I'm going to get you to roll a d20 against the Dungeons, Dragons, and Mike's table, which eventually will have a thing on screen so people can see what they're rolling. And we're going to play 2 truths and a lie in a scenario given to you by me. And this is mostly just a voice acting improv game. Okay?
Yes.
So roll your d20 and let me know what you got.
I got a 14.
14. Okay, scrolling down the list. You know what? We need some like different kind of. We need great music for this. I don't know what would be great music for this. Let's put some like pressure music on.
Oh boy.
Okay, here we go.
Yep.
Rolling down to 14 here. 14. You are austere, a tabaxi, the owner of the Dragon Trading Post. This prolific distributor of goods to and from the major cities in the dynasty has an accent rich with Mediterranean textures. He's a businessman.
That's a weak point for me.
He's a businessman through and through, willing to look past anything if the price is right. I mean, if you got a liar, this is the liar you. If you got a lie, this is the one you want, right? So let me set the scene here. I guess there should be less pressure and more, maybe tavern. Let's go tavern.
Okay.
You sit across from an elderly Kenku, hunched awkwardly on a backless stool. His hooded cape sits low, the glint of his dark eyes poking through, peering directly into yours. Coins lay strewn across the table in front of you. Ale stains from years of spilled drinks cover the table in mottled layers of excess, hinting at the class of patrons this establishment is used to. The Kenku's beak opens up, but seemingly no sound is made, until you hear a voice in your head saying, "Oi, mate, let's have it then." It's your turn to tell 2 truths and a single lie. Pressure's on.
Austere the Great inherited his shop from his rich uncle. Austere the Great once traded an owlbear's egg for a magic sword. Austere the Great once sold the hand of Vecna.
The Kenku stares at you, up and down. His feathered wings come together outside of his hooded cape. You never had that Vecna's hand, then?
Austere the Great did, in fact, sell Vecna's hand on behalf of a third-party investor.
Oh my God. And now, to you, the riches of 500 gold to be used wherever you please, sir. Somebody just said I'm going to go change my pants.
The way I see it, austere probably worked his way up to owning a shop.
Oh, so all of them were truths, is what you're. Oh, worked his way up to having a shop. So the first one was a lie.
He did not inherit it. Yeah.
See, I went more like he's Mediterranean culturally. He's gonna have family business. They're gonna keep it in the family. Vecnas is a big deal.
It's a big deal. I don't know. I took a leap.
That's not easy. The only other person I know that has that was Joe Maganolia. That's right? That's
Wait, what was his name?
Joe Maganolia. Chat says they thought the owl bear egg was a lie. That was a good one too. I don't know how you did that on the spot. I respect your lore, knowledge, and commitment to the accent. The accent was chef's kiss.
I'm very good at bullshitting. we have a running joke where in real life I'm just a sorcerer.
Yes.
And it's literally just because I swear I cast suggestion on everyone I talk to.
I would have said rogue bard, so just full of shit on every angle. Like that was fantastic. So listen, Shanks, this has been way longer than I expected. An incredible session with you. Let's let people know where they can find you. Twitch.tv/DM_Shanks. Twitch.tv/Top-Down Tabletop.
Yep. And join the Top-Down Table. I can't say it now. We've been making fun of people all week because no one else can pronounce it. And there you go. So the Top-Down Tabletop Discord is where just about anyone can get a hold of me. I'm active in the community, so
crazy active.
Do not Google DP Shanks. You are going to get something inappropriate.
I don't understand the reference, but I'm not. I believe you. I'm not going to do that.
Block down brick top. Yes, that is perfect.
If we could put the links in chat for everybody to make sure that they're following. Thank you to all the people that showed up tonight to continue watching. Big Tilly, B-Town, Ellie, Nave. Who else we got here? Top Down Tabletop, Vix, what up? Kaz, the DM. We had Tree Junk earlier. We had Wawa Tessie. We had a whole bunch of people. Big shout out to all of the cheers that we had. And Tree Junk coming in with the gifts. I don't know. He might be up at the top. Falorix is still holding the number 1 spot. He challenged DNDW me, and DNDW me said, no, Falbot. No. Shout out to Ashley Gibson for the follow. And Scarred Face Fairy also gave a whole bunch of bits to us earlier on. Keaton Woodwrights with the cheers. I am just going through this list, and it is way too long. Thank you to everybody that showed up tonight and supported.
By the way, though, make sure everyone here tunes in to Top Down Tabletop New Year's Day, 7:30 Eastern Standard, because the very own D&D with me / Peter of the Derpwood will be with us for a very special one-shot.
Heck yeah. And so we'll make sure that we promote that across ours as well. Very cool. We love this community. Thanks to all the people that showed up. We will have more people coming onto the D&D or DDnM. There's so many Ds. Good night. Top-Down Tabletop. See, it's easy to say, but try doing the Ds. Difficult. Also,
too many D's, not a problem that
phrasing.
I'm familiar with. It's can never have too many.
Is there anybody that we need to go and send out a raid to? I know I see Vancouver by Nights up. Anybody else got somebody that we should go and raid?
I would suggest Careful Cantrip, but they're probably not up for another 12 minutes or so.
Oh darn! Do we need to talk for 12 minutes? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I'm up to it.
All right, well then let's do it. I'm with it. Go and message DM Dave and tell him that we thought it was him on the show, but we got Shanks, and we're hoping to. I'm the worst host ever. It's like 1 minute I'm telling you nice things, the next I'm bringing you down.
To be fair, I sided with Peter, so I kind of brought this on myself.
Right. Let's go back to that. Did we level up? I don't think we leveled up. Are we going to keep it going for 12 minutes? I don't have a problem doing it.
I have no problem with it.
Well, then I will bring up more questions for you. We could play the game again. You want to try the game again?
Ooh, okay, sure.
As long as you don't roll a 14.
As long as I don't roll a 14, okay. Well, let's see. What?
He doesn't know what he rolled.
It's a 2. It's a 2.
It's a 2.
I think my paint isn't. Oh, it's just the way light was hitting it. Okay.
Okay. Well, you have rolled for Gurup, a male grung. He is a blue grung who's afraid of his own shadow.
Oh my gosh.
So just point of clarification, a point of reference, all of these characters have been seen on the DDnD show, and that's what you're rolling against. So all of them have been voiced at one point by D&DW me. No pressure. Do better than him.
It looks like they don't start till 8:30 tonight.
Oh, they don't start till 8:30. Well, okay, well, let's quickly run through this and see how we do.
Okay.
Well, then we will just do the same. We'll do the same thing. You sit across from elderly Kenku. He's hunched awkwardly towards you, and he asks you, "Oi, mate, let's have it then."
Girl.
Somebody click that.
I don't know how to. That's the only thing I can do, though.
Okay, you know what? This is a perfect ending. Let's leave it at that. We'll call it the end of the show. Don't forget, Carol for Cantrip, it will be on at 8:30. Check them out over at CarefulCantrip. Twitch.tv. That was backwards. If you're dyslexic, you won't understand what I'm saying. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. Big shout out to them. They are very supportive of us. We are very supportive of them. Go and make sure that you're followed over there. And we're going to go and raid Bardic Dice. All right, let's see
Sounds
that.
good.
So give me a second to light that up. Talk amongst yourselves. Shanks.
Yes, typical sorcerer. I can just kind of bullshit my way into any role very quickly.
Listen, this has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for being our first guest. We might get more professional later on or not. This is just fun.
I had a blast. I'm so grateful that you had me here.
Thank you very much. And everybody, we will see you later. Say bye.
Bye.